So we move on to Proverbs. We continue with wisdom literature. Wisdom literature is so diverse in what it offers us. Um, Proverbs is quite unique in that it's like little tidbits of this sort of practical advice, practical wisdom. Um, the debtor is slave to the lender, right? I mean, that's like money advice that you can take for eternity, right? Basically. Um, I like the way Justin Coleman puts it. He said, "If this Proverbs is like if God had a Twitter account, it's just little bits of advice." There is this specific focus on um, just sort of the ordinary human experience. Very little in Proverbs is incredibly profound or deep. Some of it is, but for the most part, it's just like little bits of wisdom that's helpful. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs, and so you can kind of read a chapter of Proverbs a day if you're just looking for some good wisdom and do it in a month. That's not the pace we're reading at, but you could do that. There is direct applicability of this wisdom in our own lives. Um, Proverbs, because of just because of its nature, is timeless. It is not. It is for a specific people, and yet it is not at the same time. And it's this literary style. It's accessible. It's not didactic. It's poetic, and it's kind of suggestive rather than like point your finger preachy. Um, Interesting, kind of placing Proverbs in the context of the rest of wisdom literature. So Job, and this is oversimplifying it, but Job sort of suggests that life is unpredictable, right? Job does everything right, and then he gets this, all these terrible things happen to him. Proverbs, on the other hand, says, well, if you kind of do things the right way, things tend to turn out right. And I'm not sure that those two things are necessarily butting heads, but they certainly kind of pull at both ends of the rope. So how do we, as readers of the Bible, how do we hold both of these in tension? Well, I think it's we by putting both of these in the Bible, we sort of have this acknowledgement that sometimes, yeah, I mean, if you wake up early and you exercise and you eat right, you're going to lose weight if that's what you're trying to do, right? And other times, life just doesn't go as planned. It's not life is not that simple, and so I think we can say that both of these are true, even though they're pulling on um, each end of the rope. So the core claim in Proverbs is this: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge or the beginning of wisdom. So um, fear, not meaning like I'm afraid of God, but I respect God. I respect God's power, God's authority, and by doing that, by placing myself as God is here, I am here. Remembering that order, that is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. God is God and I am not. And if we get that straight, then we can begin to grow in knowledge and grow in wisdom. So this word wisdom comes up often. The Hebrew of it, the word wisdom is feminine, which is sort of interesting. In English, we don't necessarily have masculine and feminine words, where in most languages they do. Hebrew is no exception. Wisdom is feminine in Hebrew, and there's this parental tone. In fact, some of Proverbs is quite literally, my child, do this or don't do that. Um, Maybe we might think of the voice of Proverbs as like a wise mother, instructing her child. Good Methodist, it's hard for me not to think of Susanna Wesley, John Charles Wesley's mother, who taught them. They documented it was really their teacher. Um, and in all of this, it's practical advice. Don't do this, but don't do that. But the main goal, the bigger goal, is not so much like um, just checking these boxes and saying I did this and I didn't do that and living well. But the main goal is really the shaping of character. So Proverbs is a nice read. It's a little easier to read, frankly. Um, uh, we've read some difficult stuff lately. This is going to be a good one, I think, for you. So happy reading.